doing business as well? Or will it pile more pressure on Kenyans who are already grappling with a challenging economic background? That and much more. Allow me now to rope in my guest this afternoon. Her name is CPA Caroline Karanja, who is an accountant and also a member of ISPAC. Karibu sana to the program.
Thank you very much, Njue.
Well, 2 weeks ago we did witness the biggest, and I've mentioned some figures here that 4.82 trillion shillings, and we have a deficit of over 1 trillion, and we are supposed to borrow that from the domestic market. I would like to pick your mind on that, and especially when it comes to our debt sustainability, on the deficit first. 1 trillion from our local economy. Could this crowd out the private sector or even lock out MSMEs, because they really depend on this money for their survival?
Thank you. You're very right to say it will crowd, because the government expects to borrow 90% of that deficit locally. Mm-hmm. I would rather that the government review that option and borrow externally to also give the MSME an opportunity to be able to also get credit within the same economy. What this does to the MSME, which has received a budget cut of 35%, which means again they will have further challenges in terms of credit when it competes with the same government within the same economy.
And let's also look at the sustainability of our debt. I'm looking at our recurrent expenditure being at 3.5 trillion of the 4.8 trillion. That leaves development with 750 billion. How do we achieve debt sustainability when 75% is just used for recurrent expenditure?
So for us to be able to sustain our debt, we actually need to ensure that we bring down the debt ratio, which is at 67% of GDP currently. We bring it down to the benchmark, which is about 55%. And that also will actually be implemented if we are able also to increase our revenue. So currently, Kenya, we are facing a challenge not just of the recurrent spending, but we also have a challenge in terms of the revenue collection. Because unless we have enough revenue collected to cover our debt, then we'll always have that in terms of deficit. So a tax system that actually brings in more people in terms of paying taxes to broaden the revenue that we receive is what we need to sustain, or even at least eliminate, if we are able to eliminate the debt. But I doubt if we are able to eliminate. But the benchmarks give us guideline. We are 13% way above the benchmark.
We always say there are winners and losers as well, and we just mentioned that we might end up crowding out the economy, especially when we continue borrowing from our local mechanism. From where you sit, and away from the politics that are surrounding everything, who are the winners and who are some of the losers in this in the budget that was read?
Okay, to start with, the major winners is education, because the highest percentage has actually 26% has been allocated to the education. But again, 50% of that budget is going towards salary. So the government needs to actually look at in terms of infrastructure, ICT. Also, the health sector is a winner because they've been allocated a huge chunk of the budget in terms of bringing in the health, improving the health sector. But we have not yet gotten to the level in which the benchmark that we would want to achieve. There's a declaration that was made. So we are still below that. And gradually, we hope that we can be able to achieve. When you look at the personnel in terms of the health sector, we are yet below, where we are looking at 1 to 17,000, 1 clinical officer to 17,000 Kenya, and the World Health Organization has given that ratio should be 1 to 1,000. So in terms of also personnel, that needs also to to be increased. But however, we are moving to the right direction. Road and transport is also a winner, as well as housing and the environment and climate change. One of the major losers is MSMEs, because the budget was cut by 35%. Again, there are also taxes in terms of the digital, transaction, merchant. And you will see that this is going to affect mainly the SMEs, especially the small traders. Maybe perhaps what should have been considered is to have a low transaction level where low transaction are actually left out in terms of they are exempted in terms of that 16, the proposed the 16% VAT, so that it can be able to encourage. MSME are actually the backbone of job creation, the economy, and if we do not accelerate the growth or even crowd that in terms of the credit, then the bitter agenda is contradicting the bitter agenda, which means the bottom line.
This month we're expecting the finance bill, and looking at it's being debated, and I think it's in the on its third reading. It has drawn quite some reactions from both quarters, and away from the politics, because a lot of politicians we have in parliament are not economists or even accountants or auditors. From where you sit, which are some of the things that they should be looking into the finance bill before it becomes a finance act?
One of the key issues, I think, is the MSMEs, because it is actually the backbone in terms of the economy of this country. There are taxes that have been introduced and also the budget that has been reduced. It is going to strain them in terms of the economic performance and economic growth. And this is the sector that is actually expected to create jobs. So that is one of the things that they should relook at in terms of that budget. Another one would be agriculture, in terms of the subsidies, for example, in terms of the fertilizers. It should be automated so as to be able to cut the middle people, so that this is direct to the small farmers, because food security is also something that we really need to produce locally rather than depend on imports. In totality, I would say we should look at what is the public value in terms of when we are doing or reviewing the supplementary budget. What will actually add value to the Kenyan people? What will actually stimulate the economic growth?
And because of the interest of time, allow me just to give you a minute for your closing sentiments in regards to mostly the finance bill and the economy, because we had to revise the rate at which our rate of growth.
I would tell each Kenyan, should actually be able to read the summary of the finance bill, so that you can know in which way does that finance bill affect you. And Kenya does not lack, the facility or the resources to be able to stimulate our economy and actually to finance the budget. We have a population of young people. We have a digital, infrastructure that is well laid that can actually be able to stimulate. What we need is to have a tax system that is fair and predictable. Yes.
Thank you so much. I have been speaking to Caroline Karanja, CPA Caroline Karanja, and an accountant and also a member of ISPAC. We have been looking at post-budget. Remember, 4.8 trillion is the number, but the questions are many, especially when it comes to borrowing and more specifically domestic borrowing. We are expecting the parliamentarians to continue with the finance bill. But for now, thank you so much indeed for joining us on this segment.
Very well, after that candid conversation in regards to the finances of the country and where we stand as an economy, that's where you put a cap on KBC Lunchtime News. Many thanks on behalf of everyone who has made this broadcast a success, including the team here in the studio, our reporters, our transmission, and not forgetting my director for the day, Mugo Kariuki, upstairs there. My name is Njue, and Lucy Maura has been my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Let's do this some other times. More news in our subsequent bulletin, but don't forget, we still have World Cup. World Cup, Iko KBC. Have a blessed afternoon.